A disturbing environmental crisis is unfolding in Nigeria with the unsafe recycling of lead-acid car batteries from the United States poisoning local communities. Towns like Ogijo are facing severe health and environmental damage from this hazardous practice. While Ogijo falls outside its direct jurisdiction, the Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency, or LASEPA, faces a critical challenge. Pollution from neighboring areas can easily travel into Lagos, a densely populated megacity. LASEPA maintains a zero-tolerance policy towards hazardous waste and is ramping up its effort to monitor air quality and control industrial emissions that could put Lagos residents at risk. The agency is deploying air quality sensors and working with national bodies to strengthen border surveillance against illegal recycling operations. LASEPA officials emphasize that public engagement is key, urging communities to report unsafe practices. The agency is now intensifying its long-term strategy to meet international safety standards and protect public health from the dangers of lead pollution. Now, for clearer understanding of how lead recycling for U.S. car batteries is poison danger to people in Nigeria and how to effectively tackle lead pollution in the country, General Manager, Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency, Dr. Babatunde Ajayi joins us now. Good afternoon. Pleasure to have you on the show.
Good afternoon. Glad to be here.
Now, I'm sure you saw the New York Times report, a very disturbing one indeed. I'd like to know how you can help us understand where Ogijo is located and what falls under LASEPA's direct jurisdiction, and also what your first reaction was to that disturbing video.
Thank you very much. So there were two videos, and both of them essentially centered around pollution in Ogijo from industrial activity, around the lead recycling industry. Ogijo is a border town between Lagos and Ogun State, and there are about 7 of those factories in that corridor. The most southward one, the closest one to Lagos, is about 7 kilometers away. And what we've done as an agency is to pay attention to whatever comes out of there, because we know it's a shared border community, right? What we've done so far, beyond just putting monitors on that corridor, I saw you projected a monitoring dashboard earlier. We have 7 monitors along the Lagos-Ogun border, and that tells us the particulate matter that you have in air, coming from Ogun State. Of course, particularly depending on the air direction or the wind direction at every given point. But we've also done a lot of community engagement. There's a strong partnership between Ministry of Health and Environment on strengthening the investigations currently, the impact of this pollution on people around, particularly children, because they're the most vulnerable to lead pollution.
Indeed, Dr. Ajayi. So what is LASEPA's position on hazardous waste handling and battery recycling within Lagos State, especially in light of the recent report we've all seen?
So we've been very proactive in the past few years. I can tell specifically in the past 2 years, we have chased out 3 of those recycling plants out of Lagos. And if you look at this cycle, what happens usually is that there's a collection network, there's then a draining network, and then the recycling network. So the collection network happens in Lagos. We have 5 million vehicles. So you would therefore expect that Lagos has the largest volume of car batteries in Nigeria. So the collection only happens in Lagos. And what we did when we shut down the illegal recycling plants in Lagos was to make sure that they converted to just collection, and then they transport to neighboring cities to go and recycle. So for us, we have stemmed this tide way earlier. We did a study about 2 years ago where we found out that there was a lot of lead in certain areas, certain communities, and then we immediately found out that it was these illegal recycling guys that were doing it. So we shut them down and pushed them out.
Quite proactive, I must say, because when you look at that report that was released by New York Times, it was said that even after the Ogun State government shut down the factories producing this, toxic acid, that operations resumed like a week after that, suspension. So I'd like to know how a state like Lagos State is a mega city, and there are a lot of industrial activities here. How is LASEPA currently monitoring air quality and also emissions across the state?
So we're very big on emissions and clean air, and in the League of Cities in Africa, LASEPA, or Lagos State actually, stands as the topmost in terms of air quality monitoring and championing clean air, across this city. We have a monitor network of 60. By the end of the year, we would have 100 of them. They monitor emissions, they monitor gases, they monitor noise, they monitor all of these different things that you expect to pollute the air. And so it means that Lagos has a heat map, we have a noise map, we have an emissions map, particulate matter 2.5 and particulate matter 10. And specifically for this lead problem, when it's dispersed beyond 2 to 3 kilometers, it means that the particles must be really fine for it to travel that far. So our monitors along that corridor measure PM 2.5, and it is what is displayed on your screen. Now, you have that monitor. If you look at the line there is the Lagos-Ogun border. So across the line, all the way down to the southward side of things, you see all of the monitors there, and it's publicly available. The data is easily accessible from our website. And what we've done is to create an alarm system. Whenever we have anything that is very unhealthy, it triggers in our office on our dashboard, and then we immediately step in, shut them down. That has helped us manage industrial activity. It has helped us manage hazardous waste and pollution in the city.
Indeed, still on the issue, although you've mentioned some of it, but can you still walk us through the technology and scientific processes your agency uses to detect the pollutants, for example, the lead particulate matter, of course, other emissions we're seeing from the diagrams on screen there?
Okay, so we have local partners who have developed these monitors. It used to be, this used to be foreign technology before, but because of our drive in this space, we now have engaged local partners who now manufacture these monitors. They measure different parameters in one monitor. So you have particulate matter 2.5, for instance. When you have dispersion of particles, right? Lead, it could be any other particle, it could be sawdust, right? The ones you can see with your eyes will most likely be 10 micrograms and above, right? So the ones that are way smaller, too tiny for you to see, like the lead particles that have to travel all the way, they're composed as 2.5, PM 2.5. And the monitors detect each of them. So we have a profile over a 2, 3, 4 months period. We can pull it up, for us and then see the profile from each area. What it does for us also is that there's so many communities where you don't exactly pay attention to their activity. Yeah. But a dashboard like this goes straight to the point, and it helps us immediately identify the problems, and we're able to dig down into the issues and stop the pollution at source.
But can you tell us what trends you've been seeing from the recent air quality data you conducted, and what areas are improving? What areas should we be concerned about?
Yes, so for air quality specifically, there are 14 industrial zones, across the town, and each of these zones have specific monitors in them, particularly to measure the kinds of things that we want to see. In the areas, the areas where they do food and beverage, for instance, you don't have a lot of air pollution. It's going to be more biological effluents, from there because it's food, right? So all of these monitors also do the work of telling us. So because we have seen these things, we have reduced pollution extensively in different corridors. So the industrial smelting and all of the pollution along the corridor, for instance, we've seen a reduction in that trend because of our continuous engagement, and because we've paid a lot of attention to it. The kinds of things that dig up this data really will be research. So because we are big on partnerships, research partnerships with both local and foreign institutions, we're able to immediately see these things the moment they come up. And then there's high-end technology to also deep dive. Our laboratory also does the work. We have an ISO standard laboratory that, that gives us the opportunity to measure these things, and then we can immediately tell and escalate when there's need. We shut them down. We're very big on enforcement. When we find something that is not supposed to be, we immediately shut them down and make sure they remediate and they stop the pollution before they are reopened.
Indeed. So Lagos is still home to many industries. How does your agency ensure compliance with emission standards, and what actions do you take when industries violate environmental laws?
One, so compliance is usually first with warnings. When we notice that you are deviating from the standard, the first thing we do is to send you warnings, right? After the first warning you don't hit, we impose penalties, fines, and sanctions, right? Now, our sanctions can range from heavy fines to stopping operations entirely, to forcing you to convert your chain of activity. So for instance, the lead recyclers we had before, we forced them, we shut them down till they converted to a different line of business. So they had to convert because they were a major source of pollution. So we use all of these mechanisms to ensure that people comply. The industries, operate according to international standards. And we have a global, we're open, our books are open, which is why we can publish dashboards. We can show the world what we see and, without modifying or editing any of our data. It is really just the transparency and the openness to engage.
Indeed.
And I'm sure that some of these investigations you've conducted would also go ahead to mitigate future occurrences, especially when you look at this toxic acid. But how is LASEPA collaborating with federal bodies like NESRA, the Ministry of Environment, and also health agencies on hazardous waste control, on air quality improvement?
So the first thing I'd like to say is that everything you do in environmental protection drives, the entire your health conversation, right? So there have been publications in the past where we clearly saw that, poor air quality led to a high death rate in several communities in Lagos. And that is why we started the whole drive around good air quality, clean air in Lagos. And that's why we're very big on this activity. So for us, partnerships help us. We partner with neighboring communities or neighboring cities. The only neighboring city we have is Ogun, obviously. So we have a very strong partnership with them. In fact, on the used lead acid battery recycling, we had an engagement in March that was published on our social media and everywhere, where we had sort of driven a conversation to say we need to keep an eye on these things because these shared border communities have people going in and out every day. The other thing for us is that for federal agencies like NESRA, we're also in partnership with them. When we see things that affect us as a city that we do not, in areas where we do not exactly have jurisdiction, they can write on behalf of the country, and then say, this is what we have found, this is what we should do. They're also able to help us share policies. So we have very strong lead acid battery policies in Nigeria, actually, that the federal has formulated, and we just adopt. So policy sharing, leveraging connection or communication with neighboring cities, and also strengthening our own advocacy on a national level is the kind of things that we see. For health, the Ministry of Health is very proactive on things like this. There's currently a research going on the quality or the quantity of lead that you have in the blood of children in that community, on the legal side of things, to see how much of penetration this quartz dust or the fine particles have had on the children of Lagos.
Indeed. At least now the battery I changed and the discount I got from my seller, which is a trade now. Now I have an idea where those batteries are actually going, because he collected it for recycling, he claims. Dr. Babatunde Ajayi, General Manager, Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency. Very enlightening discussion on the recycling process for batteries in Lagos and, of course, its surrounding areas as well. It's good to have you with us on Newsday.
Thank you very much.